Hey guys, and welcome to your 2-Minute Money Manager. I'm your host, Stacey Johnson, and this answer is brought to you by MoneyTalksNews.com, serving up the best in personal finance news and advice since back in 1991. Today's question comes to us from Cindy. Cindy says, I have a loan from a long time ago that I co-signed for a family member so he could buy a car. He defaulted on the loan, the car got confiscated, and they charged off the loan. Now I'm thinking of paying it off. My mortgage loan lady said that since it's charged off, that they may take a much smaller lump sum to pay it off. I don't really even know what to say or how to approach a loan officer with an offer like this. Okay, guys, let's talk about charged off debts and your credit history. Let's start by defining what charged off means. A charged off debt is simply debts you didn't pay, so the lender took the loss and wrote it off. Okay, so they said it's uncollectible. Now, keep in mind, though, the fact that it's charged off doesn't mean it's forgiven. You still owe the money. They just stopped trying to collect it. Okay? Now, here's the law as far as your credit history goes with this stuff. Any negative marks on your credit history, including charge-offs, must be removed after 7 years. So if Cindy's charged off debt is more than 7 years old, it shouldn't show up in her credit history or affect her credit score. Now, if it's within the 7-year window, should she pay it off? Well, you'd think so, right? I mean, especially if you cared about your credit score. I mean, after all, if unpaid bills devastate your credit score, and they certainly do, logic would suggest that paying them off would improve your credit score, right? Unfortunately, all is not logical when it comes to credit scores. According to the creator of the most widely used credit score, the FICO score, paying accounts and collections will not help. Here's a direct quote from myfico.com, their website. As far as your FICO score is concerned, two things are considered. Has a collection appeared on your credit history, and when was it reported? Okay, just has it been there, and how long has it been there? That's it. So whether or not you pay off your collections is really not a decision to help your credit history, just a personal decision. So what FICO is saying is that paying off a debt and collections won't improve your score. Okay? It may, however, influence a lender who looks beyond your score to its source, which is obviously your credit history. Now, if you were a lender, which would you rather see in a borrower's credit history? An account they paid years late, or one they blew off and never paid at all? And then, of course, there's your personal morality score, also known as a conscience. When you borrowed money, you gave your word that you'd pay it back. So if you have the money, and barring a legitimate dispute, that's probably what you should do. Or at least, that's the way I was raised. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's look at a couple of additional ideas for Cindy. What can Cindy do? Cindy could try disputing that bill, that charge-off, because the Fair Credit Reporting Act allows you to dispute anything on your credit history. Once you file that dispute, the credit reporting agency, known as a CRA, typically has 30 days to investigate that item, which they do by going back to the collection agency or the lender who put it on your report in the first place. Now, if that agency or that lender doesn't respond, then the CRA can't determine the item's accurate, so they have to remove it. And they're also required after that to notify the other CRAs so it gets removed with them as well. Now, you're obviously not supposed to dispute items you know to be accurate, and I'm not advising you to do that, but I can tell you it has been done. It's kind of like pleading innocent to a traffic ticket then hoping the cop doesn't show up for court. It's an automatic dismissal, right? So if the item causing problems for Cindy is accurate, though, and she doesn't want to take a chance of protesting something or disputing something that she knows is accurate, it's most likely going to be verified anyway. So it's probably not even going to work, but it doesn't cost anything to try. Now, you can go to the websites for Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion and learn how to file a dispute. While all these companies may try to get you to buy your credit history before filing a dispute, do not do that. Do not bite. Get it free at annualcreditreport.com. Now, if you're going to pay a charged off bill, try to get something in return for it. Some negative marks on your credit history, like a foreclosure or a tax lien, cannot go away, but collection agencies and lenders may remove charge-offs or collection accounts if you negotiate with them. So here's what you're going to do. Before you pay anything, you're going to write a letter to that creditor. You're going to ask to have the account removed or marked as paid as agreed. in exchange for your payment. After the creditor agrees in writing to remove that negative mark, you pay the balance. Or better yet, as Cindy mentions in her question, offer a radically reduced amount. Let's say you owe $8,000, offer 1 and maybe settle for 2. After all, this is found money for the creditor. They've already written it off. So anything they get is better than nothing. So this whole process is called pay for delete, because you're paying the past due bill and you're asking in exchange for them to delete this bad mark from your credit history. You can find sample letters for doing this just by searching the term pay for delete sample letter, even pay for delete sample letter at moneytalksnews.com or anywhere else on the web for that matter. Now note, some debt collectors are happy to lie to collect a debt. If it's not in writing, now remember this, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. You must have a letter before you do anything. Do not pay that debt until they have agreed in writing that they're going to remove that bad mark from your credit history. Also important, this is really important, before contacting a lender or a collection agency, you should know that making a partial payment on a debt or in any way acknowledging the accuracy of a debt could restart the statute of limitations clock. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the details about what statute of limitations is about, but I have written about it. If you go to Money Talks News and just look up statute of limitations on debt, you'll find an article that I wrote about that. Suffice to say that acknowledging that a debt is legitimate could give a lender or a collection agency the ability to sue you and get a judgment when they might not have been otherwise able to do that. So, whenever dealing with anyone attempting to collect a debt, you got to choose your words and your deeds carefully. When in doubt, you talk to a consumer lawyer. Now, if you're not going to pay, this is our final option. Let's say you're not going to pay the debt, then just ignore it. I mean, if you try to pay the debt and they won't take the money, or you file a dispute and that doesn't work, well, you don't require an instant fix to your credit score. The best idea just may be to let it go. Other than a clear conscience, you're really not going to gain much by simply paying off the debt. The older it gets, the less it's going to impact your score. And as I mentioned, after 7 years, it's going to drop off entirely. Cindy, I hope that answers your question. And if you guys have a question of your own, you can get it answered. Perhaps, I don't answer every question I get, but if you subscribe to our free newsletter at moneytalksnews.com, you can just hit reply and I might just answer your question. Okay, guys, have a great day. I'm going to see you right here next time.